Hello, everybody. It's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning after a bit of a hiatus to Strategic Command World War II, World at War. It is November 6th, 1942 of our Let's Play series here. The war is headed toward 1943. The Germans are on the doorstep of Moscow, closing to within spitting distance of the capital of the Soviet Union, overwhelming our forces in this area, having overwhelming air superiority. We have quite a few fighters that are doing their best to keep Moscow skies clear, but the issue isn't so much Moscow. Yes, they're going to break through our defenses before too long. We've been able to give some of their armored units a bloody nose that's helping to slow them down a little bit in the Moscow theater. We've got a two sort of defensive layer hex in front of the actual capital, so it's unlikely to fall in the next turn, or probably in the next turn or two. So we probably have at least 3 turns till Moscow would fall. But the real problem is up north here at Leningrad, where you can see here we've got troops dug in, trying to hold this key strategic city. There's a gap between our Moscow defenses and our Leningrad defenses, allowing German infantry to slowly move through some rough terrain. They'll be into some open terrain here, though, back toward Volvok, toward Volgda, and toward Naimoda, if we're not careful. And then also the fact that if we move to the south, things are even worse. They've broken through near Stalingrad. Stalingrad will probably fall this turn. If not this turn, then definitely the next turn. They've broken into the Caucasus. Grozny will likely fall. Baku after that. Massive amounts of the Soviet economy are at risk. Alternative capitals that are sort of fallback points after Moscow. Kuybyshev has just a single unit in front of it, facing down a German panzer, which is vastly superior to it. And if Kuybyshev falls, then the Germans can simply turn in on Perm, wherever the hell that is. It's around here somewhere, which is the other alternate capital. I'm looking right at it. So we could lose both our alternates before we lose Moscow. Now, the one benefit is winter is coming. It is November 6th, 1942, and that was not meant in a Game of Thronesy way. I realized it just after I said it. But winter is coming, and it is coming soon. You can see there's already snowfalls to the east near the Urals, and other places like that. So hopefully we can hold long enough to get into winter. Hopefully that snow socks in the German Air Force, keeps them grounded, gives the Germans their attack penalties, and we buy 4 more months of Russia's hard blood, sweat, and tears. Meanwhile, the Chinese front is a little bit chaotic. We've got 2 Japanese Marine units that have landed in the rear. We've cut off their supply at Haikarao, but they also have these troops that have moved into Nanning, which I think is a supply city. We've tried to pin these guys in place, but they're a threat down here. Meanwhile, in the south, they've got armor and Air Force units that are slowly overwhelming the Chinese army. The Chinese army is depending more and more on British and Commonwealth forces that have come over the mountains, as well as Chinese communist forces. But we don't have adequate supply or readiness for those troops. So it's becoming a bit difficult. We haven't lost Chongqing yet, but the situation is getting worse and worse, and we really need to hope that the weather turns in our favor in a bit so that we can continue to hold. We keep inflicting heavy losses on Japanese forces, especially here in the south, really beating up this army here, the Indochina Expeditionary Army. We've badly bloodied a couple of other units as well, but they just keep on coming. And in the north, we really don't have anything between them and potentially Langkao and Umrichi, which are alternate capitals for the Chinese. The one saving grace for us there is that the terrain and the supply situation isn't great for a Japanese advance in that direction. That's the situation in China. We talked about Russia. We're going to jump all the way back to the west and move into Spain. Spain has more or less fallen or been liberated, depending on how you phrase it. It is a fascist government that joined the Axis powers. We have the remaining elements of their troops surrounded at Gibraltar and Murcia. We have quite a few troops there tied up trying to reduce these guys and finish off the Spanish on the continent. They do have some reserves in some of their colonial areas as well, but I'm hoping they surrender once we destroy these remaining colonial units. We've already taken Madrid. We've also advanced into southern France, which has helped Russian morale. We've taken the city of Bordeaux, which is a supply and industry point, so that's good for us. We have a very narrow front as we attempt to break into France, so the Germans could definitely throw troops out in front of us and stymie our efforts to get into, deeper into France to try and get into Paris. But the invasion of Europe is on, the liberation of Europe is on. I'd also like to swing in toward Rome, but they've got a very strong defensive position in front of Rome. We need to take Naples, Rome, Venice, and Palermo to force all their capitals to be surrendered. But I can't really do that until I get some of the Atlantic naval forces into the Mediterranean, which I can't really do till Gibraltar falls. So it really remains to be seen. I don't have a lot of headquarters in Europe either, so my supply situation, my frontage situation, they're all tenuous at best. We have more troops than we know what to do with here, but we also don't have a large enough front to really seriously undermine the invasion of Russia. If we can get into the French plains here in central France, we might actually force the Germans to pull enough troops out of Russia that it will prevent them from being able to continue the assault there as well. The other big problem for us right now is that the Germans, I think, are up to level 3 tanks. I think we're only at level 2. The Germans are also at level 3 or 4 aircraft, while we're at level 2 or 3. So they're getting ahead of us in technology in a way that is going to make things very difficult. I honestly think, guys, I'm going to lose. I don't have money to divert to R&D at the moment, but I really badly need to be doing that. We do have some research that's underway for the British, or they're working on command and control, but again, you can see their infantries are maxed out at 2 of 2, so that's good. Their tanks are up to 3. I guess that's good. I didn't realize that, but we need to get them to 4 before long. Same for the fighters, which are currently sitting at 3. The Americans, meanwhile, have level 3 tanks. They're working toward level 4 and are pretty close, so that'll actually be very good for us, but we don't have very many American armored units. Their infantry is already up to 2 of 2 as well, and their advanced fighters are only at 2, but they're working toward 3. So we're making some progress on the R&D front, not enough though. China, fortunately, has gotten its infantry weapons up to level 2. The Soviet Union also up to level 2, although their tanks are only at level 2, and they're not researching 3. Their fighters are at 1. So again, rough situations across the board. With that being said, we've already gone through our turn, more or less, so let's go ahead and fast forward here. One last thing. Singapore never fell, and we just destroyed the last of the Japanese landing forces on the Malay Peninsula, which is making me think maybe we can try beginning to liberate some of the Dutch East Indies here and maybe put some pressure on the Japanese elsewhere. And then the other thing, as a reminder, is the American fleet crushed large portions of the Japanese fleet. Not the entire fleet. Japan still has 14 naval vessels, but the Americans have 22. And I think we've got 14 right in here and then back at Pearl. So we've actually got a pretty strong situation in the Pacific where we might be able to start rolling back on Japan, but we're a long way from being able to take the home islands. We need headquarters units in the Pacific also, which we really don't have. I don't think we have any anywhere, so we need to buy those. Those are crazy expensive. So this two-front war thing is hard, but that's the situation right now. The U.S. is slowly going to roll back. Taking individual islands without headquarters is definitely possible. We took Kwajalein either this turn or last turn. I think this turn. So we'll get that national morale benefit. And then we'll probably move on Tarawa and Eniwetok just to solidify our hold just outside the American sort of safety zone, if you will. After that point, I think we may jump to Wake Island to get a little bit of supply, maybe truck, and then move toward the Marianas, and then eventually toward Japan itself. That's the goal anyway, but we'll see. That may take a while. With that being said, let's go ahead and see what the Axis has in turn for us. Let's go ahead and end our turn, move forward to the next one, and see what happens. Japanese morale suffers from the loss of Kwajalein. That's good for us. We want to hurt Japanese morale as much as we can. They've also, I think, lost a lot of morale from all the ships they've had sunk. The Salmon is hit by rough seas. American make a jump in advanced fighter development, so that's badly needed. It also doesn't help that I'm diverting huge chunks of the American economy into the Russian economy. It helps the Russians, but it also makes it hard for the Americans to adequately fund their R&D. Whoa, they just moved in behind our line. They cut between 2 units there on the Russian front, moving some infantry in behind us. That could be bad, that could be good. I mean, that they may actually get themselves isolated and cut off down near Resin. Maybe we can swing in behind him and crush him. German armor moving on Kubachev is surprised by our infantry, but we don't actually do any damage to them, so that's not good. Again, our front line in Russia in a lot of places is like Swiss cheese. The only place that's really adequately strong at the moment is in and around Moscow, and even that's not strong enough. German cavalry swinging in, also trying to exploit this gap and get in behind and form a pocket near Moscow. We're going to have to attack that, which means sacrificing our entrenchment values, which is not good. And I really probably don't even have the resources to attack that. Oh shit, Japanese air forces just destroyed a headquarters in northern China. They are doing a lot of damage across the board. Meanwhile, good weather in late November in Russia is hurting our defense in the Soviet Union. You can see those Stukas doing quite a bit of damage. We do have some interceptors, but the Germans also have good escorts, and our fighters aren't great. So you can see them using their Stukas and tactical air force. The Italians getting into action there in southern Russia as well. A lot of bombing of our infantry unit right there in front of Leningrad. I imagine there will be a strong attack on that front. I don't even know if they have any entrenchments left there. Yeah. Italian troops attacking our northern flank here on the Moscow front. I wish it kind of focused on one front or the other when it does combat results, because it's often very difficult to follow what the hell's going on. Meanwhile, the Battle of Stalingrad continues. 3 infantry attacks nearly wipes our army out there. We just lost a British force in the south of China. But, like, jumping between China and Russia and then China again is just very disorienting. Meanwhile, you can see here, complete breakthrough to the east of Leningrad, deep into our rear. So good weather in central Russia. I guess the weather is bad in the south of Russia. It looked like it was raining near Stalingrad, and it's raining in the Caucasus. They almost destroyed that infantry unit in Stalingrad. They still have that armored unit, which hasn't attacked. Yep, okay, there it goes. Stalingrad has fallen. Or if not, yep, there it goes. Stalingrad falls. Shit. And there's our alternate capital gone, too. Jesus fucking Christ. The AI just loves to move in behind you. But that seems a little unrealistic out by Kuybyshev, because they literally moved in behind. Like, there's no support there. They're just an armored unit out in the air all by themselves. They don't have any support. There's no infantry coming in behind them that I can see. So they didn't really make any progress on the Moscow front, but they made a shit ton of progress everywhere else in Russia. Soviet morale suffers from the loss of both Stalingrad and Kuybyshev. German morale is obviously boosted there. I don't know how they plunder from... Oh, there goes Communist China. Yan'an, they took the capital of Communist China, Yan'an. Communist China surrenders, although it looks like we at least keep their infantry. They completely flanked us in China in the north. We lost the Peng HQ of the Communist Chinese. We lost the 10th British Army. That was in China. We lost the 11th Soviet Army. Not huge in terms of units destroyed, but pretty disastrous of a turn. Italian destroyers? Where are they? Well, they might be off the coast of Madagascar, maybe? I'm glad the Soviets are giving us intel in the Philippines. Like, okay, guys. All right, so there's Japanese destroyers near Truk. One might wonder if they're bringing their fleet in that direction. Meanwhile, we'll take that secondary supply here. So, do we want to sail west and try and engage their fleet out that way? So that destroyer didn't run into anything. I can't really effectively get out that way. I'd love to get this long-range transport ashore, but it doesn't look like it can get that far. Not get that far and unload, anyway. He can get that far, but he can't unload there. Maybe we don't need to take any Weetalk, or Taro. Maybe we should just go straight for any Weetalk. So I think what I'll do is I'll put him in port at Rohan Namur, so he should be relatively safe there. Then what I'll do is I'll move the fleet north to close to any Weetalk. Actually, we'll move him in adjacent. That should cut their supply. Move the carriers behind any Weetalk. If the enemy fleet is going to be coming for us, then I want to make sure that I'm ready in a consolidated way. Put the heavy cruiser out front. Move the carriers north. We'll leave the one battleship south near Tarawa. We're going to go ahead and reinforce this heavy cruiser. I'll bring this guy out here, this Jeep carrier. Both of these Jeep carriers will sail out this way. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and bombard any Weetalk. Alright, so we are hammering the hell out of these guys. Their morale and their readiness is low. Their supply is down to 5. Their entrenchments are at 2. I think we want to do mixed to bomb these guys. Naval is probably not the right mode, right? Well, I don't understand. Like, is naval / tactical actually more effective against ground targets? I'm not really sure. Because you'd think tactical would mean like ground tactical as well, whereas mixed might mean like fighter support also. So I'm really not sure how that works. So you can see their readiness and their morale keeps plummeting. Their supply isn't really changing. So their readiness and their morale are both below 40, which is good. We can bring the 1st Marine Division up here. They'll land at any Weetalk next turn. It's not a morale objective, but it is a secondary supply objective. And it sort of helps me bridge toward getting closer to Japan. I think I'm going to try and avoid all of their Central Pacific holdings with the American fleet. And instead what I'm going to do... And by the way, do I have any British cruisers over this way? I thought I had some that I had sent that way, but maybe not. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to... I'm going to island hop in a weird way. I'm going to take Kwajalein, which is a morale and supply sector. I'm going to take any Weetalk. That's the next logical bridge. Any Weetalk will bridge us to Wake Island. Wake Island will bridge us toward the Marianas, which we'll go for, bypassing Truk and bypassing everything here in the south. And then we'll go from the Marianas up toward... I'm assuming this is... Is this... Yeah, it's Iwo Jima. And then straight from Iwo Jima onto Japan itself. I think I can pull that off. Well, Japan's tough, but I think I can at least in theory attempt to pull that off. That gives us a line of supply that I think is feasible without requiring us to take too long. Because, like, I don't really think Tarawa gets us anything. It's a morale objective, great, but it doesn't... I don't think it actually gets us toward our objective. I also don't think there's any partisans on any of these islands. I don't know if 2 Marine divisions is enough to take Japan out. I'm sure it's not. But... So we'll do that. Meanwhile, so that's the American side of things. Let's reinforce these Commonwealth troops here on the Malay Peninsula. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to start throwing these guys on transports. And we'll see what the Japanese have along the coast. Part of me, with the Italian fleet out that way, I think Madagascar is probably a bit dicey. I'm curious what all is out that way, though. So we should reinforce the carrier. That's 105? Jesus, that's a lot of points. But, like, if we can get these guys ashore at Palembang, start cutting off some key elements of the Japanese economy in the Dutch East Indies, that would be real beneficial. Meanwhile, in China... Well, they flanked us in the north. We'll have to send this Special Forces unit up this way. Oh, I didn't want to... Shit. That wasn't exactly what I meant to do. Alright, so we get 1 to 3. We actually got favorable weather here. Alright, defensive artillery firing against those Brits. March these guys north. Reinforce these troops. Continue, hopefully blocking their advance west. How much supply do these guys have? Just 1? I think they'd be taking attrition damage. Granted, our guys don't have much either. Why do the British have such low readiness? Is it because they don't have a headquarter? Well, that's going to change. We've got these guys coming. We've also got armor and anti-aircraft coming as well. This Indian headquarters will help with some of the British units. Well, actually, wait. These are Indian. They're all Indian, so this headquarter unit should help a lot. Even that armored unit is Indian. Meanwhile, partisans could be an issue, but I think we'll go ahead and move these. Actually, no. We should upgrade their... Oh, we can't. So we'll have to upgrade these, operate these fighters. Oh, I can't even operate them. Can't even get them into China. Well, I can get them into part of China, Western China. So we'll have to... I mean, I could operate them, but not into China, just further forward. So I think what we'll do is we'll send these guys, we'll fly these guys that way. So we've got some garrison units in... Apparently nothing at Madras. I need to keep someone near Delhi. Yeah, that doesn't work. Alright. Do I have new units? I do. Well, they're USSR Special Forces. Well, we'll keep that tactical unit back. I think the important thing is getting fighters further forward to help in China. So that kind of does it for China. We spent our money, we made our attacks, we did our thing. We continue to hope we can piece together a front line that is supportable as we flood more Indian troops in. Meanwhile, in Spain... Still trying to get the Spanish to surrender, huh? Terrible morale. So if we can wear down these Gibraltar forces. Got him! Alright, so we destroyed that that guy there. So we'll retake Gibraltar. Gibraltar is now ours, so we can send our naval units into the Mediterranean. Once again, the Mediterranean is open to the Allies. Good news for us. Also, one more Spanish unit destroyed. Makes it that much more likely that maybe they will surrender. They have, I think, one unit here, the Moroccan Corps, and then I've got, like, a garrison down here in Spanish Guiana. But you'd think they would, you know, maybe consider surrendering now. And while we've got Canadian headquarters unit is on the way. Where can they land? Can they come ashore anywhere else? Farrell, I guess. Let's make sure the coast is clear. It is. Alright, so we'll bring that Canadian headquarters unit ashore at Farrell. Man. My ability to hurt these guys is so limited. I basically just have to keep one unit at a time moving troops through that one port here on the Azores, basically. Or send more and pray that they don't get hit with subs. We could send them down to Funchal down here. So the American Corps and the 10th Army both can flow through these two bases, so Madeira as well. Are there Spanish troops here? They've got another garrison unit there. They've got so many just random garrison units around. It makes it hard to force them to surrender. We've got this amphibious unit here. I don't want to pay to throw them on transports again. I think I'm going to have to leave that guy back. Can he even make it? Like, make it there? Doesn't even look like it. I have to be very vigilant in escorting him. Maybe we just risk it. Just send him here and hope they don't spot him. Hope they don't get intel to attack. What is that unit anyway? 1st Ranger Special Forces? It's pretty... It sounds like a good unit. Well, hopefully we can get them in. Anyway, so Gibraltar falls. Hopefully Murcia will fall next turn. We'll move our Canadian armor here into southern France. Our American units, their supply all seems oddly low for having a headquarters unit right there. You can see our armored unit moved forward there. It's rainy and bad weather all over the joint. Nice. We bombarded an enemy air unit with our naval assets and got a kill. It's raining, so I can't fly my Air Force in to try and do more damage. Alright, so we should probably put mostly British units in the front, because that's the headquarters unit that is most... that is closest. The annoying thing is most of the troops in the front are actually my American units. Can I operate this guy forward at least? No, I can't even operate him into France. Okay. Alright, so there needs to be garrison between these two cities. We've got this guy, so we can do that. Anyway, so we've advanced close to Tours. It looks like there are some Romanian troops here, as well as some German garrison units as we come up from the south. We haven't seen a strong German formation in our way yet. Feels a little bit weird. Like, they've got garrisons, but I don't know. It just seems weird. Enemy contact. Everything is bad weather right now. Alright, so theoretically he should have nowhere to retreat to at this point. Oh, I guess I was wrong. He does have one place to retreat to. Alright, so you'd have to sail through a unit to escape now. I think. I'm not 100% sure the way the rules work. Alright, let's move. We don't have a Portuguese headquarter unit, do we? That's a good unit, too, by the way. We need more headquarters. Okay. So those troops are coming ashore. Look at all these German units sitting in Italy waiting for an attack here. These guys could easily pull back to France to help against the attack there without even endangering the Russian front. Crap. Right, so the Russian front, the Grozny force, still hanging out down there. Meanwhile, Stalingrad has fallen. Can't really operate this guy out anywhere because the rail lines have been cut. So I just did something weird. I advanced my infantry west down towards Saratov in an effort to cut this German unit off from any potential reinforcements. I'm also going to place my new unit of special forces here at Perm, at our other alternate capital, in the event this German armored unit wants to keep trying to drive into our rear there. I'm going to use my tactical air if they can reach. I need to try and close this gap. So these guys are going to probably die next turn, unless the weather turns in our favor, which I keep praying that it does, and it hasn't so far. I was trying to close the gap there. so that they can't just march freely into our rear. This Moscow unit's the most dug in. I don't want to just give him a free kill there. I hate to give up my entrenchments there, but I did. Give me a goddamn blizzard. Save me. All right, we'll go ahead and move these guys south. I can't seemingly use my Air Force for much good at the moment. They seem to be pretty weak. I can't really upgrade them. I could reinforce them, but they're just going to take heavy casualties when they eventually do bomb. Now, it does look like there's a large number of enemy artillery out here. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's heavy losses. Did a little bit of damage. No idea how much. Trying to hit their artillery. That's so much artillery. 3 units there. Gonna clobber me. Did at least 2 damage to him, but that doesn't mean much. Alright, let's move this air unit adjacent here. They'll die, but it's more about fucking with their zone of control. And hopefully limiting how far they can advance. Meanwhile, the Soviets do have a fair bit of money right now. They lose all their entrenchments when they attack? That's lame. I guess at this point, the Soviets, with their 416 points, probably should buy some... The shock armies come in 1 turn? No, 3. Great. We can buy 1. As well as a corps. We've got reinforcements coming in February. The shock army and then the regular infantry corps that we bought. January and February. We've also got some rocket artillery and infantry. We've got some other troops coming in December. So we've got reinforcements on the way. Not enough, probably. Meanwhile, the Americans already kind of did their movement stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a new headquarters for the Americans. We'll go with Eisenhower. Leaves us with 111, which we'll keep, I think. The British still have 199. There are some naval units the British could work on, but I think with our remaining money, what we should do... 111 won't get us much for the Americans. There's a couple of things we could research, but probably not super impactful, so I'm better off just keeping the money. For the British, the 199 would be useful for working on more advanced tanks, I think. We don't have a lot of tanks as the British. Infantry warfare is already maxed. Amphibious warfare might matter for the Pacific. I really don't know. Long-range aircraft, theoretically, naval weaponry, heavy bombers, no. It's probably either fighters or tanks. I should probably go with fighters, given the we have a lot more of them as the British. And I think that's the situation that we find ourselves in right now. So I'm slowly advancing into France, not doing enough. I mean, we could try and declare war on Vichy, but I don't have the logistical support, so I'd rather not. Diplomacy, at least especially until they close down the front. If they clog this front, then maybe we would do it. Diplomacy, meanwhile, how's Vichy doing? They're at 56% for the Axis. We could spend some American money on diplomacy. But I don't know if I really want to spend it on Vichy. Algeria, French West, Indochina. I mean, there's not a lot of places that are super close at coming into the war. Argentina might come into the war on the Allied side. Not sure how much that matters. Not sure how much money they'd really contribute to the cause. Certainly not a lot of troops. Maybe we're better off just kind of keeping things as they are. I'd love to get Turkey in on our side, but we're already working on them, but they're still way far away. Sure, it'd be nice. They have a reasonable amount of units here to be able to push them into the soft underbelly of either the Balkans or potentially into supporting the troops on the Russian front. But really, I think the fact is, it's just Russia's going to lose. Russia's going to die, and it's probably going to die somewhat soon. I'll pull that anti-aircraft unit into Moscow just so there's no open hex there. We'll see, guys. I don't know if I'll play this out to the conclusion or not. It's getting a little bit dicey, but I think certainly at least a couple more turns we'll see how things play out. With that being said, that's going to do it for this turn and this episode. I appreciate you guys tuning in. The fall of Stalingrad has occurred. We'll see what's next. But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.